Good morning. This morning I want to talk about a paradox in human life. I want to talk about this paradox that as humans, we are free. We are the only species on this planet which has a choice, which can choose whether I say yes to something or no. I can choose or reject things. As a human, I can follow my energy, that what I feel inside, or not. I have a choice. And at the same time, as humans, we are the only species on this planet which suffers. We are the only one here who has pain. I mean, not physical pain, but emotional pain. We suffer. And despite the fact that we have this choice, despite the fact that we have this freedom as humans, we are unable to get out of suffering. I received an email which touches me very much, and by answering to this email, I want to talk about this topic, about this freedom we have and this inability we have as human beings to get out of suffering and into heaven by ourselves. And of course I want to talk about how we can manage anyway, how it works in human life. This email is a little bit long, but I would like to read it in its entirety because it really transports very nicely, very clearly this life feeling so many humans have. And maybe you as a listener, maybe you find yourself also in this email. Dear Michael, thank you for your loving reply. You touched me with the love that comes across. There's an extremely deep feeling of loneliness in me, always, as if I were totally lost in a cold, indifferent universe. You recommend Samarpan meditation. That is precisely my problem, that this does not fit for us, and that is why I turned away from Soham, and I couldn't go further with him. When he first told us about this guru in 2017, my husband and I were open to going further with him and trying out everything. Then we both did the introduction to Samarpan meditation, and we started doing the meditation regularly. I was already registered for the next retreat with Soham, but shortly before, I felt more and more that something was wrong. It felt totally wrong for the first time in many years. I just didn't see myself there. And it wasn't just some kind of resistance. I knew that for many years. I had been to many spiritual places, to Osho in Oregon and also in India, to Varesh in Holland, and so on. So I wrote to Soham shortly before the start of the retreat, and he said I shouldn't come. Nevertheless, we both gave Samarpan meditation a try and did it for a while until we realized more and more that it wasn't right for us. I felt like something was possessing me and I didn't feel good. Then a very painful and long phase of turning away from Soham began, which is precisely my problem. Since he's completely devoted to the Guru, I could not go any further with him. It was all very strange for me, as if suddenly heaven, the divine, was divided. On the one hand, Soham and Swamiji, and on the other hand, this familiar divine energy that I knew from the retreats and from Ramana, who has been a blessing in our lives for a long time, and Osho and Jesus. And then I was so happy to see your videos and to hear about your work. But then I saw Swamiji's picture on your website, and you keep talking about him and the meditation. And that's why I never wrote to you, even though I wanted to so badly. We are currently experiencing this dramatic crisis with my husband's health. He did not take care of himself during his first hospitalization, and despite flu symptoms, he took on too much. And then he got pneumonia, from which he has been recovering quite slowly since months. A few weeks ago I got corona. He got infected and he got pneumonia again and again hospitalized. He's now back, totally weak and in need of care. And I have no idea about his company, which he still managed. The last few weeks have been like being thrown from one bank to the other of a raging river with hardly any time to catch my breath, with all the demands, and far too little sleep and rest for me. Nevertheless, there's also support and somehow a sense in everything for me. Thank you for this letter. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you write. Yeah, this is how it is for us humans. We suffer. Our life slips out of our hands. We don't know what to do. We experience one crisis after another. We feel lonely, totally lonely and lost. And yet, all the things which are in our life, which could help, they are not right for us. And here we are, a life full of problems and no solution. First, I want to touch on this one point you wrote in your email. You said about the Guru, about Swamiji, and about these other gurus you love so much, Ramana, Jesus, Osho. It is like this. A guru who is not in his body anymore. A guru whose body died. He cannot help you with the one step you have to do in this life. We love this guru like you love Osho or Jesus or Ramana. And then this guru you love, who left his body a long time ago, he helps you in a specific way. He's not here in a way that he can't help you with this one step you need to do, but what he can do is, and that's what he does, he makes sure that a living guru enters your life. When you go to Ramana, when you pray to Ramana and you say, Ramana, help me. I don't know how to handle this life. I don't know what to do. I don't know how this is supposed to work. What Ramana then does is he sends a living guru to you. Now, when this living guru enters your life, then it gets interesting. You see, it's easy to love a guru who is not in his body anymore. It's easy to love a Jesus, an Osho, a Ramana who is not here anymore, in his body. Because this guru doesn't challenge us anymore. When he was alive, he was a tremendous challenge. But now he left his body. But the living guru who enters your life then, he is a big, big challenge. And that's what you experience. This guru, Swamiji, who entered your life through Soham, and that what he brings, the Samarpan meditation, is a challenge. That's normal. So nothing wrong. So, I always say, out of my own experience, the only way you can live is by being true to yourself. That's what I say in every one of my videos. I only do what I feel energy for. I only do what I feel joy with. I never do anything against myself. And this is how it was for me when Swamiji entered my life. When Swamiji entered my life, I just felt a yes. And this is the reason why I am with him. That's the reason why you see Swamiji's energy picture in this video over there. I didn't say yes to Swamiji because my master did this. It is not that I heard from my master, now you need to follow this guru, or now you need to do the Samarpan meditation. No, I felt this yes, and that's why I'm here where I am now. And when you don't feel this openness, you have no choice. You can't go there. And it's good that you're true to yourself. And this way of living, this yes to how it is for me, this being true to myself, to my energy, this I learned from Soham. That's why he advised you back then to not come to this retreat. If you don't feel open, if you feel this is not right for you, then you shouldn't come. So far, so good. But now you are in your life. You feel a no to the meditation. You feel a no to the guru. But your life is a mess. You don't know what to do. How can you live this life? How can you find your path to heaven? How can you become happy in your situation, in your life? The secret is to say yes to that what you have in you right now. There's no need to try to say yes to something you don't want. That's the wrong way, and you know this. But say yes to what you have in your life right now. And I know that you know this. This is what you learned from Soham over many years. You mentioned this deep feeling of loneliness. Can you say yes to this feeling? It's here. That's your opportunity to say yes. This old friend, this deep loneliness, this feeling as if you are alone in a cold, indifferent universe. Let this feeling come to you. Say yes to this. You describe that you have this feeling that you are being tossed back and forth from one bank to another on a violent, raging river. That's how life feels for you right now. Can you say yes to this feeling and all the feelings connected with this, which you have inside of yourself? You see, the only thing you ever need to do is be where you are. You don't have to worry to get out of anything. You don't have to worry to change. But to say yes to how it is for you now. That's helpful. That will change everything for you. And the Samarpan meditation is simply a tool, a practice to train this yes. Samarpan meditation is a yes. You just sit there and you meditate, and the only thing you do is not wanting anything. You just accept everything the way it is for you right now, inside of yourself. That's why it's so helpful. Yeah. In a way, for me personally, the Samarpan meditation is in a very magical way the continuation of that, what I learned from my spiritual master Soham in the 17 years before the meditation came into my life. He taught me to say yes to everything inside of me, to say yes to how it was and how it is for me. And I practiced this, and my life changed, and I became happy. But when the Samarpan meditation came, it was like it taught me to say yes on a totally different level. Amazing. I want to mention one thing about the Samarpan meditation, which you might not know. The meditation stands completely for itself. It is not connected to anything else. When you want to do this meditation, you do not have to have a guru. You don't have to love Swamiji in order to do the meditation. Swamiji is just the server who brings you the meal. That's how he describes it himself. He just brings the meditation. But you can just meditate without thinking about him. It's not a package. It might appear so to you because Soham, your former spiritual master, he adopted the meditation and this guru at the same time. And the same happened to me. But you can meditate, you can use the benefits of this amazing tool, but you don't have to accept any guru. And you don't have to change anything else in your life. You don't have to suddenly do certain Indian things just because many people around Swamiji do them. this is not necessary. You don't have to become a Hindu, you don't have to become part of a religion or change your diet or change your lifestyle, nothing. You can just meditate. If you want. Yeah, I just wanted to mention this because for some people it appears as if doing the meditation is connected with many other things they don't want. And that's a pity. In reality, the only thing which is important is the meditation. The entire rest happens by itself. It's like Jesus, Jesus brought his meditation. His meditation was this prayer, "Thy will be done." And by the way, Samarpan meditation does exactly the same thing. And you can just adopt this way of life, saying yes to life, "Thy will be done." You don't have to believe in Jesus. And it's the same with the Samarpan meditation. But as I said in the beginning, you need to be true to yourself. If you don't like the meditation, forget it. So, life is amazing, Maybe you wonder, how does this work? Yeah, I say, be true to yourself. Only do what feels right for you. But at the same time, you notice in your life that you're lost in life. Everything looks dark. Yeah, you feel lonely and your life is going down the drain. Your husband will die. By the way, you will die too. All these bodies will die. Of course, you don't die. Your soul will not die. You don't die, but your body will die. Soon. Just like mine, just like everybody's. Yeah. So you notice that your life is not the way you want it. You notice that you are suffering. You notice that you have difficulty. And you notice that you are unable to change all this. So the question is, how do you get out of this? While being true to yourself. And that's what I just told you. The only thing you need to do is start saying yes. It doesn't matter where. You don't have to say yes to a meditation you don't want. You don't have to say yes to a guru you don't want. You say yes to that what is already here, in you, in your life. The loneliness, the fear, the suffering. Say yes to this. Allow it to be here. It doesn't matter where you start with the yes, but start with the yes. And life gives you an opportunity to say yes all the time, in every moment. But we don't want this. Usually, we say no. Usually, the attitude we have about life is like a stubborn child. No, I don't want this. I don't want the suffering. I don't want the loneliness. I don't want the meditation. I don't want the help. I don't want any of this. I don't know what I want, but not this. This is our usual state of mind. No. And then it's like we are living in a dead-end street. We say no to everything which is. And then we are stuck. That's the world of the mind. That's the world of the ego. It's a cold, indifferent universe. Really. That's the world in our thoughts. But as soon as you say yes, it doesn't matter to what. If you begin to say yes to how it is in this hell for you, something magical happens. You are in this dead-end street. You are in this hell. In this cold, indifferent universe. You feel utterly lonely. Or you feel tossed around by this violent, brutal river of life. As soon as you say yes, it's like you turn around and you walk out of the dead-end street. Suddenly you're somewhere else. You cannot change the hell. But you can say yes to it. And as soon as you do this, something fundamentally changes. It's like a miracle. And I know that you know this. Just start doing it again. Wherever you can, whenever you can, practice this yes. Yes to what is in your life right now. More is not needed. And most people don't have this yes. They don't even know about this yes. They don't know that they have this option to say yes. All they know is this life of no. And then a miracle happens. Something comes into your life, somebody, and with this somebody, with a living guru, with a living master, or maybe with some videos, somebody who says yes comes into your life. And suddenly you experience the power of yes. Suddenly you experience, wow, this is possible. I could say yes. And then you have the choice. And that's where you are at in your life. You are one of those people who know, I could say yes, but I don't want to. But life is very, very persistent with us. I tell you how life does it. Yeah, you have the complete freedom to say yes or no. And if you say no, this is perfectly okay. And whenever you say no, life becomes very, very difficult, very hard. The more you say no, the more you suffer. The more you say no, the more painful it gets. And this pain, this suffering, is the help. It reminds you, hello. At some point you notice, when I say yes, it gets easier. When I say no, it gets more difficult. It's your choice. You're completely free. But then you learn, that's how life works. Interesting. I cannot change the circumstances. I cannot determine what my life should look like. This is what happens by life. But I can say yes or I can say no. And when I say yes, suddenly everything is easy. And when I say no, I suffer. Interesting. And that's how we learn. That's how you learn. And you have forgotten the yes. And I invite you to try it again. Say yes. To your feelings. To this day, how it is for you today. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today. Now. And this yes is easy. This yes is possible. You love Ramana, you wrote. And just yesterday I read something about Ramana I would like to share with you. Ramana Maharshi was asked by a disciple. The disciple asked him, Master, why is it that sometimes it is so easy for me to meditate and to say yes? But at other times, it's impossible. It's so difficult. I just can't say yes. I can't meditate. It's like impossible. Why this change? Why this shift? And Ramana Maharshi answered, I don't remember his exact words, but I repeat what I understood from what I read. He said, it is two different states of our spirit, of our mind. Sometimes we are in the state where we can say yes. This is the elevated state. That's how Ramana put it. And then it's easy. But sometimes we are in this other state, this lower state. And there it's impossible. It's two different states of our mind, of our energy, like two different frequencies. And the one is heaven, God, and the other one is the devil, hell. Ramana said, God and devil, God and Satan, they're not people out there. They are states of your being. They are states of your mind. And this eternal battle between God and Satan, this is this alternating we experience as human beings. Sometimes we are in this ease, in this yes. We are in heaven. And then we drop out again and we are in the no, in the hell, in the suffering. And we get out of the hell and back into this other state by saying yes to the hell, as good as we can. It's impossible for you to say yes when you cannot say yes. But at some point, there's an opening. Suddenly it's possible. Suddenly you remember, I know, I could say yes. You could say yes. That's the way out. You see, it is not about the circumstances you experience. You are very concerned about your husband's health. You are very concerned about what might happen in your life when he dies. What about his business? What about money? What about your life? You're concerned about your feelings, your loneliness. But these are all symptoms. This is just what happens in life when you say no. And when you say yes, all this will change. the way you experience life will change completely. And you know this, you have experienced this before. But it's not enough to remember. You need to do it. You need to say yes. And then it happens. And then you experience this alternating I was just describing, that what Ramana Maharshi was talking about. You experience the yes and this elevated state. And then, before you know it, you fell out of it again and you're back in the mud. You're back in hell. And then you remember again and you say yes. And the more you say yes, the easier the yes becomes. The more you say no, the more difficult the yes becomes and the easier the no becomes. It's very simple. And that's why it's so helpful to practice this yes whenever you can, with every little opportunity. Yes to the beautiful things, yes to the difficult things, yes to the sunshine, yes to the birds you hear, yes to your hunger, yes to your pain, yes to your tiredness, yes to the morning, yes to practice yes wherever you can. And this brings you out of hell, into heaven. And remember, you are totally free. It's only your decision. Nobody is waiting for you. Nobody expects anything from you. You know, as human beings, the ego is like a stubborn child. I said this earlier in this video. The ego is like, no, I don't want to. Yeah. It's like the little child forces the parents to give him or her what he or she wants. And it works with parents. It's the only power a little child has. But as adults, it doesn't work. You are totally free. If you choose to be stubborn, if you choose to say no, if you choose to stand in this dead end street, that's okay, you can do this. Life gives you this freedom. There's nobody waiting for you. It's only your choice. Nobody expects anything from you. You're free. Swamiji says, I bring the meditation. But who takes it? Who benefits from it? Who integrates it into life? This is not my concern. This is not my business. His gurus told him that. The gurus of Swamiji told him, listen, your job is to bring the meditation to society, to all those people who are waiting for it. But who is willing to accept it? Who is taking this gift and who not? This is not your concern. This is not your job. You just bring it. As I said, he's just a way to bring the food. Eating, you need to do yourself. So there's no expectation. There is no guru expecting anything from you. I don't expect anything from you. I don't want to convince you. You are free. I just share with you how I experience life. I share with you what really works. And then it's up to you. Nobody can make you say yes. That's your freedom. That's your choice. That's the amazing love of the universe. It doesn't touch your freedom. Because only when you by yourself come to the point where you say, out of yourself. Now I want to say yes. That's when the door to heaven opens. It has to come through yourself. Then it's possible. And that's why life doesn't interfere. Yeah, that's why life gives you all the time you need to come to this point, because it only works when you come to this point yourself. When you find the way yourself. That's the magic, that's the beauty of life. And part of this freedom I'm speaking about is, as I said, this freedom to say no. We have this freedom to stand in the corner and say, no, leave me alone. And when you are in this state, as I said, there's nothing you can do. Yeah, you cannot force yourself to say yes, and this is not good anyway. But life has an amazing trick. This trick of life is called love. You are totally closed. You don't want. You say no. And suddenly something touches you. Through the wall, through the armor of your no, your heart is being touched. Suddenly you open up. Suddenly you want. Yeah, it's like, I'm no different than Soham. I do the meditation. I'm in love with Swamiji. I do the same things like Soham. But something in the way I'm talking touches you. You feel this love touching you. You don't want to have to do anything with what I say. You don't want to have anything to do with the meditation, and certainly not with the guru. Everything I say is basically something you don't agree with. But there's this love. You're being touched. You're being opened. Not by force, but it's like your walls are melting. Maybe you know this. I'm sure you know this from your life when you fall in love with a man. Yeah, you didn't choose him. There are things about him you find really strange and maybe stupid, but you find yourself opening up. You are in love. As if you start saying yes against your will. This is the magic of life. And then this yes happens. And then you experience it. This is how life is in a yes. Wow. Yeah. That's how life saves you. And if this happens to you, use this opportunity. Start saying yes again. And if you want, do the meditation, as I said. It has nothing to do with a guru or a religion or a culture, because with this meditation you can just practice yes. But if you don't want this, hey, then just don't do it. But say yes. You know, I know you since a long time. And I know your ability to say no. And I have the same ability. If you know my videos, I told quite a few stories where I just said no. I said no to my master. I said no to what he suggested. I said no to what he said. Hey, this might be helpful for you. I said, no, this is stupid. I don't want this. I was true to myself. I said, no. And because I was true to myself, I could stay with him. Just like you. Yeah, you were true to yourself back then. You didn't continue with the meditation. You didn't go to the retreat. And that's why you're still here. This is so helpful. So be true to yourself. It's like you're my sister. I'm just as stubborn as you are. Be true to yourself. This yes to yourself is the start. Yes, I am this way. Yes, I feel this way. Yes, I don't want this. Yes, I don't want that. Say yes to yourself. And then find all the things you can say yes to in your life. And extend this yes more and more and more. To what? That's your choice. And the more you say yes, the more miracles will happen in your life. You will be liberated. You will be healed. I love you.